let this be a normal field trip? With a friend? No way!
Cruising on down Main Street, you're relaxed and feeling good. Next thing that you know, you're seeing octopus in the neighborhood. Surfing on a sine wave, swinging through the stars. Take a left at human testing. Take your second right past Mars on the magic scuba. Alligator nostril. Climb on the magic scuba. Spank a plankton too. On our magic scuba. Drop the river of lava. On magic scuba. Such a fine thing to do. So strap your bones right to the seat. Come on in and don't be shy. Just to make your day complete. You might get baked into a pie on the magic scuba. Step inside, it's a wilder ride. Come on, ride on the magic scuba.
This is terrible! I've lost some of the rocks and minerals from my collection. What am I going to do?
Lost rocks? Lost minerals? Not a problem, Arnold. We'll take a field trip and go directly to the source.
Active volcanoes are chock full of exciting stuff, like magma and gases. It's really neat to think that new rocks are being formed all the time. When the ocean floor moves apart, things get pretty interesting. The Mid-Ocean Ridge by Phoebe. If you want to check out the other section of this report, click on the tab. Layers of the Earth. Mostly mantle. The middle layer of the Earth is the mantle. This is the thickest layer of the Earth, just like the main fruity section is the thickest part of the peach. The mantle is incredibly hot. Globs of melted rock, called magma, are always trying to squeeze their way up through the top part of the mantle and through the crust. Sometimes the magma manages to make it all the way up and through to the top, where it comes out of a volcano. The crust is us. The crust is the outside layer of the Earth, which is the continents and the ocean floor. We live on top of the crust. The crust is the thinnest part of the Earth, sort of like the skin of a peach. Inside at the core, the Earth is a sphere made of 3 base layers. The inside layer, deep in the center of the Earth, is called the core. If the Earth were the same size as a peach, the core would be about the size of the peach pit. There are 2 parts to the core. The inner core is made of solid metal, but it's the hottest part of the Earth, and the outer core is made of molten metal.
Volcanoes by Wanda. See all those tabs? Click on them to check out the different sections of my report. Volcano Basics. What are they? Some mountains are volcanoes. They are made when hot molten rock called magma spills or explodes out of holes in the earth. These holes are called vents. The magma collects in a magma chamber deep under a volcano. The pressure in the magma chamber builds up until the magma pushes up and comes out on the surface of the earth. After it reaches the outside of the earth, magma is called lava. As lava cools, it hardens and builds up on top of the mountain. This makes the mountain get bigger every time there's a volcanic eruption. There are 3 basic volcano types: shield volcanoes, cinder volcanoes, and composite or stratovolcanoes. The biggest of these, shield volcanoes, are broad and have been made by lava which flows for a very long way before it cools. Shield volcanoes are made from the lava that cools to form basalt. Volcanoes by Volcanoes around the world. Hawaii. The biggest volcanoes on Earth are located above hotspots in the Earth's mantle. Mauna Loa on the island of Hawaii is a shield volcano formed above a hotspot. A hotspot is an area of the Earth which is always forming magma. The hotspot stays in the same place, but the ocean plates above it move over time, causing new volcanoes to be formed in a string. This is how many of the Pacific Islands were formed. Mount St. Helens. 2 months before Mount St. Helens, a composite volcano in Washington state erupted, it began having little earthquakes. The magma chamber inside pushed out, creating a huge bulge on the north side of the mountain, alerting scientists that it might erupt soon. Suddenly, the part of the mountain with the bulge slid down the mountain, and as it slid, pressure was released. The entire north side of the mountain was blown out. Ash rained down, shockwaves toppled trees, and melted ice and snow caused avalanches of mud. In a few short moments, the mountain was reduced by 1/6 of its size. 59 people died from the eruption. Today, the area is a national monument where people can study volcanoes. Volcanoes by Wanda. Igneous rocks. Hot rocks. Igneous rocks begin deep in the earth as magma, which is hot melted rock material. When a volcano erupts, the molten lava and ash cools into extrusive igneous rocks on the surface of the earth. Other igneous rocks form when the magma cools underground. These are called intrusive igneous rocks. All igneous rocks are made out of minerals, and they are named by what minerals they contain and how the rock was formed. Extrusive rocks.
Igneous rocks that form outside the Earth are called extrusive rocks. They form from cooled lava, which is magma that comes out of the ground. Since the lava cools very quickly, the rocks have very small crystals, which are hard to see. Some extrusive igneous rocks are rhyolite, andesite, and basalt. Pumice is an extrusive igneous rock, but it is filled with holes created by trapped gases. Pumice can float because it has so much air trapped in it. Obsidian is a type of rock that cools so fast there is no time for crystals to grow. It's often called volcanic glass because it looks and breaks like glass.
Intrusive rocks. Igneous rocks that cool inside the earth are intrusive rocks. Since the magma cools slowly, the minerals in intrusive rocks have time to become large crystals. Their mineral crystals are large enough to see without a microscope. Some intrusive igneous rocks are granite, diorite, gabbro, and peridotite.
Just click on the bus to start the adventure! Sometimes volcanoes are explosive, and sometimes they're not. Rocks are rockin'!
There are mountains on the ocean floor that are so big, they're taller than Mount Everest. Some volcanoes send chunks of rock, called bombs, flying through the air.
Let's not take rocks for granted. Just click on the bus to start the adventure!
It's really neat to think that new rocks are being formed all the time.
Geodes by Ralphie. Click on the tabs to check out other sections of my report. Mineral, rock, or crystal? Crystal. There are 6 basic crystal shapes that result in different sizes and patterns of a crystal face. Light reflected off of a crystal face is what we see glittering. That's how we know it's a crystal. Mineral. Minerals are the building blocks of rocks. But what exactly is a mineral? Well, minerals are always solids and they're natural, which means they're not made by people. They're not alive and have never been alive. A mineral is made from one or more chemical ingredients which are arranged in certain shapes called crystals. Geodes by Ralphie. Mineral properties. True colors. Although minerals may form in lots of colors, they have one true color, which you can see when the mineral is ground up. To see this color, scrape the sample across the rough back of a tile. This test, called a streak test, shows the mineral's true color in the streak that it leaves behind. Most minerals leave a white streak which you can't see, but metallic minerals leave streaks of distinct colors. What you can see. Every mineral has special properties. These are clues we use to identify it. Some properties are things like a crystal's shape. Another property is color. Some minerals, like malachite, are always one color, but many minerals can fool us by appearing in many different colors. And another property is luster, which is the way minerals reflect light. Pyrite, or fool's gold, always looks shiny like a mirror, while quartz always looks glassy. Crystal shapes. Following rules. Crystals always form in regular geometric shapes. There are 6 main crystal families. Some families form shapes like cubes, such as galena or halite, which is salt. Another family forms crystals that look like 6-sided columns topped with a pyramid, like quartz. But all minerals follow the rules for their family. They always build certain shapes or combinations of those shapes. Large or small. Some crystals grow to be very large and some are very small. The size of the crystal depends on how it is formed. If a crystal is formed slowly, with plenty of room, it will be large. If the crystal is formed very quickly, it'll be small. Outer shape, inner beauty. Minerals are made up of chemical ingredients, and these chemicals are always arranged in a particular pattern. When a mineral crystal forms, its crystal face shows the inner arrangement of chemical ingredients. Where minerals form. Geodes. On the outside, a geode looks like a gray or light brown sandy ball, but crack it open and inside are beautiful crystals. Most geodes form in a hole in igneous rock. Dissolved chemicals in the hole slowly form well-shaped mineral crystals. Special geode minerals. Most of the minerals found in geodes are either calcite or quartz. If you break open a geode and can scratch the crystals with a knife, they're probably calcite. If the crystals are hard to scratch, they're quartz.
Sometimes volcanoes are explosive, and sometimes they're not.
The Subduction Zone by Carlos. Click on the tab to see the other section of this report. Destroying crust. Ring of fire. If you look at a map of active volcanoes and earthquakes, you'll see that most of them occur around the Pacific Ocean. Indonesia, Japan, the northwestern United States, Mexico, Chile. They all have them. This pattern is called the Ring of Fire. What comes up must go down. You might wonder, since new crust is being made all the time, if the Earth is getting bigger. Well, it's not. And that's because sooner or later, these plates have to sink back down into the mantle. Thin ocean plates will sink down beneath a thick plate that has a continent on top of it. So the ocean plate gets shoved or subducted down into the mantle, and the ocean floor is turned back into mantle rock. Hotspot volcanoes. Where can I find one? Many hotspot volcanoes are located in the Pacific Ocean. If you look at a map of its sea floor, you'll see many chains of islands that formed from a hotspot. In warm oceans, coral reefs grow in the shallow water around volcanic islands. When the volcanoes erode below the surface, these reefs are left behind and are now called atolls. How are they made? Some volcanoes form in the ocean in the middle of a plate. Deep in the Earth's mantle, a hot area of magma called a plume bursts up into the crust to erupt for a while. This gradually forms a huge volcano that may rise above the ocean's surface to form a volcanic island.
Faults are fascinating because they're giant cracks in the earth.
They might not look like much on the outside, but geodes are awesome on the inside.
It's really cool that caves get made by water underground. Canyons are really cool because they're like giant geological diaries. There are fabulous things in caves like stalagmites and stalactites. It's wild to think that some rocks in the Grand Canyon were once seashells and mud on the bottom of the ocean.
Geodes are cool once you crack them open.
Dramatic stuff happens at a fault, like earthquakes.
I can't believe all the awesome crystals I found inside a geode.
Canyons are really cool because they're like giant geological diaries.
Caverns by Keisha. Click on the tabs to see the different sections of my report. How caves are formed.
Most caves form in areas where there's limestone rock and where there's a lot of rain. Here's why. The water sinks down through cracks in the limestone and collects in underground rivers. This water dissolves the cracks into wider cracks that get larger and larger over thousands of years. Eventually, whole areas collapse underground to form tunnels and caves. This is erosion on the inside of the earth. Acid makes caves too. Now, you may ask, how can water dissolve a hard rock? Well, as rainwater sinks through the ground, it picks up minerals that turn the water into a weak acid. The acid dissolves the calcite mineral that makes up limestone. In fact, you can even do a calcite test. All you have to do is put drops of vinegar on a likely rock. If it fizzles, it might be limestone. Cave formations. Cave deposits. As water underground runs through the limestone, it dissolves the rock's minerals. As the underground water evaporates in the cave, it leaves the minerals behind as wonderful deposits on the ceiling, floor, and walls of the cave. Famous caves. Mammoth Cave. A cave is a hollow area under the earth. Most caves are formed by underground water that dissolves limestone, a sedimentary rock. A cavern is a large cave, usually with many connecting tunnels and rooms. Lava caves are formed when tunnels that were carved by lava flows become empty. Borneo Caves. On Borneo, a Malaysian island in the Pacific, there are two sets of important caves. Sarawak Chamber is the world's biggest single cave room. It's big enough to hold 16 football fields. Naya Caves. Borneo Caves. On Borneo, a Malaysian island in the Pacific, there are two sets of important caves. Sarawak Chamber is the world's biggest single cave room. It's big enough to hold 16 football fields. Naya Caves is the site of an important discovery. Ancient tools and pottery were found there. They were left by Stone Age people living in Borneo over 40,000 years ago.
Faults are fascinating because they're giant cracks in the earth.
Faults by Dorothy Ann. Click on the different tabs to investigate all the sections of my report. Kinds of faults. Kinds of faults. Faults are cracks in the rocks on the surface of the earth. When the rocks move on either side of the crack, that makes an earthquake. There are different kinds of faults. One kind is where rocks are shoved away in an up-down movement. This is called a normal fault. A reverse fault has the same up-down movement as a normal fault, but one side is being pushed on top of the other side. The third fault type has a side-by-side movement, where the rocks slip past each other. This is called a strike-slip fault. The San Andreas Fault in California is a famous strike-slip fault. Earthquakes. Shake, rattle, and roll.
Earthquakes start way down at a spot inside the crust called the focus, which is where rocks release their pent-up pressure along a fault line. During an earthquake, shock waves start at the focus and move outward in all directions.
What makes quakes? The rocks on both sides of a fault are always under pressure. They're always pushing. They want to keep moving past each other. But sometimes they get stuck, and all that pressure has nowhere to go. And so the pressure builds up until there's way too much of it. Then, when the two sides finally do break free, all that pent-up pressure is released in a violent rush. The rocks move past each other very quickly, and that quick release of pressure is what causes an earthquake. Metamorphic rocks. Regional metamorphic rocks. There are many different kinds of metamorphic rock. Slate is a metamorphic rock that is made from mudstone. They look very similar. Its lined-up minerals make it easy to split into thin sheets for blackboards or roof tiles. Schist is a glittery metamorphic rock with wavy lines of minerals and new crystals like garnets grow in it. The minerals in gneiss line up into black and white bands that look like a zebra's skin. But maybe the best known of all the metamorphic rocks is marble. Marble, made from limestone, is a beautiful rock that has been used for centuries to make statues and buildings. Tsunamis, or tidal waves. A giant wave. A giant wave.
Tsunamis, which are sometimes called tidal waves, actually have nothing to do with tides, though they certainly are waves. Most of them are caused when faults in the ocean floor move and shove the ocean floor up or down. The shifting of the faults in the ocean floor sends shock waves into the ocean water, which creates enormous waves. When a tsunami reaches shallow water, near an island or a coast, it slows down and the water piles up, growing larger and larger as the water gets shallower and shallower. By the time it hits land, it has become a gigantic and dangerous wave.
Long-distance tsunami. In 1964, there was a huge earthquake in Alaska. Enormous tsunamis caused by the quake destroyed towns along the Alaskan coast. Because the oceans are so big, there is time to warn people before the tsunami can get across the ocean. Disaster strikes. Some tsunamis are caused by volcanoes. During the famous 1883 eruption of the volcanic island of Krakatoa in Indonesia, the whole volcano, which was the whole island, collapsed into the ocean and caused numerous tsunamis. Thousands of people were killed by Krakatoa, but most died from the giant waves rather than from the eruptions.
The Grand Canyon by Tim. Click on the different tabs to check out all the sections of my report. Sedimentation. What? Sediments are grains of sand that are made of other rocks or minerals. Sediments can get moved around by wind, rain, rivers, glaciers, and oceans. When the little grains of sand drop out of the wind, water, or ice and are deposited on the ground, then that is called sedimentation. Those layers of sediment can get covered by other layers or strata, like the layers of a cake. The bottom layers of sediment can get scrunched down flat by the layers on top, and the weight from the strata on top eventually cements the tiny grains of sediment into solid rock. Rock factory. There are 3 kinds of sedimentary rock: clastic, organic, and chemical. Clastic rocks are formed from little pieces of broken rock. Sandstone is a clastic rock made of tightly packed sand grains. Organic rocks are made from plant or animal remains. Ocean plants and animals use calcite crystals to make their hard parts. When they die, the hard parts are left, and this makes the rock limestone. Chemical rocks are formed by chemical changes, such as evaporation. Rock salt is a chemical rock. It's what you'll find on the ground after a salty lake or sea dries up. Rock history. Sedimentary rocks are like history books that tell us the story of what Earth was like a long, long time ago. Think of sedimentary rocks as clues that can help us to figure out things like which areas were on land and which areas were underwater. For instance, pieces of limestone might tell us where a coral reef formed long ago, and a layer of coal might show us where a swamp or a prehistoric forest once lived. Fossils. Pictures of the past. Fossils are like nature snapshots from millions, even billions of years ago. If a prehistoric plant or animal got buried under layers of sand or mud, the softest part would rot away pretty quickly. But the hard parts like shells, bones, or tree trunks would be replaced over time by minerals. That's the way that most fossils are formed. But some are formed from the tracks that animals leave behind, like dinosaur footprints. These fossils are called trace fossils. Erosion. Rivers shape the earth. Rivers and streams may not seem very powerful, but they have helped to shape our earth. The rivers sort the sediments by first dropping the bigger, heavier grains, like boulders, down into the riverbed, and then carrying the smaller, lighter grains such as mud way out to sea. Rivers carve out valleys, and in some places where there are no trees, they can create really cool landscapes like canyons. It's hard to imagine, but it's true. All it takes is one little river with a whole lot of patience. Glaciers.
Glaciers form in the very coldest places, like way up high in the mountains, where it's so freezing cold that the snow can't all melt. The snow piles up and forms ice. Thick layers of ice that move are called glaciers. Eventually, the glacier is so heavy that it slowly slides downhill, eroding rocks in its path and carrying them down with it as it slides. Lower down the mountain, when the glacier finally melts, it lets loose all those rocks that were frozen in the ice, and it carves nifty shapes into the land. For instance, Yosemite Valley has steep-sided walls that were carved out by glaciers.
Breakdown. Land that is exposed to ice, wind, and water is gradually worn down by them. Here's an example of how it works. Chemicals in rain, temperature changes, and any number of other things can eat away at an exposed rock. The rock gets weaker and weaker until it finally breaks apart. This is called weathering. You could say it's called weathering because of what the weather does to the rock. After this, the rock pieces that are made from weathering get swept away by water, ice, or wind. This is called erosion. All across the surface of the earth, erosion is busy happening.
Canyons are really cool because they're like giant geological diaries.
Caverns by Keisha.
Geodes by Ralphie. Click
Just click on the bus to start the adventure! Click on the gear shift to find out where this bus can take us. Then, click on the Go button to get there. Welcome! Do you feel like helping Arnold find the missing samples from his rock and mineral collection? First, listen closely. There are 3 kinds of rocks: igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. Arnold is missing one of each, and he's also missing a mineral. Now, check out those 4 empty spaces in Arnold's collection box. Click on one to hear your first clue about the missing samples. Minerals are the building blocks of rocks, and many of them take crystal forms. Minerals are found all over the earth. Arnold's missing mineral is biotite. I bet you just might find it. Minerals are the building blocks of rocks, and many of them take crystal form. Igneous rocks form when magma or lava cools and crystallizes. They're usually found near land volcanoes or at mid-ocean ridges. Arnold's missing igneous rock is diorite. That's right, diorite. I'm quite sure you'll find it. Sedimentary rocks are made when tiny grains get pressed together. They are found in many places, like canyons, faults, and caverns. Arnold's missing sedimentary rock is shale. Can you bail him out of this predicament? Metamorphic rocks have been changed by heat or pressure under the earth. They are found at faults and places where very deep rocks have been exposed, like the bottom of a canyon. Arnold's missing metamorphic rock is marble. It would be a marvel if you could find it.
Let's check out every area for my missing rocks and minerals.
When you find a missing sample and fill the space in Arnold's collection, take a crack at another one. Click on a space and listen closely.
You can do some really great stuff at the Geo table. Click on a rock and move it to the table. Then use the tools to examine it. Click on Me if you need help using the Geo table. Do you want to examine a rock in the rock box? Use the arrows to choose a rock or some other object, and then click on it to put it on the table. Use a sponge to clean off your rock and get a better look at it. You can use that small hammer to crack your rock open and see if there's anything cool inside. Click on the magnifier to get a closer look at your rock. The magnifier can help you see the details of the rock you're looking at. Click on the Return button to put the magnifier away. Do you want to examine a rock in the rock box? Use the arrows to choose a rock or some other object, and then click on it to put it on the table.
Welcome to the Rock Transformer. You can put stuff into the Rock Transformer and see what kind of rock it's made out of, or you can put a rock in and see what it makes.
Use the arrows on the rock box to choose a rock or some other object. Drop it into the transformer and watch it go! This rock is untransformable. Sorry. Graphite can be used to make pencil lead. This rock is untransformable. Sorry. This rock is untransformable. Sorry. This rock is untransformable. Sorry. Pumice can be used to make scouring powder. Scouring powder is made out of pumice. This rock is untransformable. Sorry. Sandstone and granite are used to make building blocks. Shale is used to make bricks. This rock is untransformable. Sorry. This rock is untransformable. Sorry. This rock is untransformable. Sorry. Hematite is used to make steel screws. This rock is untransformable. Sorry.
Now you get to dress up me and Keisha in whatever outfit you choose. Click on the arrows to make us try on all kinds of hats, shirts, pants, and shoes. One small step for me. I bet it's nice and peaceful on the moon. Huh? Since when do I hike? I'm not so sure about caving. Are we going out?
There's nothing like some precious stones to complete the look.
Know any hula dances? Finally, an outfit that's right for me. Oh, this is embarrassing.
Yee-haw!
Ahoy there! Where'd this parrot come from? Presto! How long do I have to hold this torch?
Charge! Queen Tut. 10 hot.
I'd sure like to know who did this to my hair.
Straight to the moon.
Click on the rock transformer handle to set the transformations in motion.
This Earth kitchen is super cool. To be a rock chef, just follow the recipe. If you're not sure where to find an ingredient, check out the shakers or look through the drawers. If you need help with the Earth Kitchen, just click on me. To be a rock chef, just follow the recipe. If you're not sure where to find an ingredient, check out the shakers or look through the drawers. Box might have some rocks you need to grind up. Click on the box and use the arrows to scroll through the rocks and minerals till you find what you need. Are you missing ingredients? You could check outside or use the transformer to make them. To be a rock chef, just follow the recipe. To make evaporite, which is also called rock salt, bake some salty water or ocean water on low heat. To make evaporite, which is also called rock salt, bake some... To make a calcite, mix calcium, carbon, and 2 oxygens. Excellent! You just made calcite. Copper is just the pure element copper, which is written as Cu. Copper is just the pure element copper, which is written as Cu.
Race. Can you get your bat out of the cave maze first? Use your up and down arrow keys to move your bat. Use the left and right arrow keys to control your bat's flying speed.
Click on the gear shift to find out where this bus can take us. Then, click on the Go button to get there. Do you have gold fever? Pan for gold nuggets by moving Carlos with your left and right arrow keys. Flip the sifter by pressing the spacebar. Good luck! Click on the gear shift to find out where this bus can take us. Then...
Can you help Phoebe and me beat Liz in finding the hidden fossil fuels? Click anywhere above the oil-coal line, and Phoebe will search for coal. Click anywhere below the oil-coal line, and I'll drill for oil. But you have to take turns with Liz. Cool! We found some coal! Excellent! We just hit oil! Awesome! We discovered coal! Super! We just drilled into oil! Great work! We just unearthed some coal! More coal? Radical! Fantastic! I love finding oil.
Do you want to try your hand at cave painting? Just pick a thumb size, dip it into pigment, and start drawing on the wall. function to keep all this lava from flowing into the sea. Click on the tip of the lava flow to hit it with water. That'll stop it in its tracks. How quickly can you help me across this giant fault? Control my jumping power by using your mouse. The longer you hold down the button, the farther I'll jump when you let go. Whoa! Thank goodness for that. Whoa! Hooray for geysers! Whoa! Whoa! Hooray for geysers! Terrific! Yes! Whoa! Hooray for geysers! Watch out!
Welcome! Do you feel like helping Arnold find the missing samples from... When you find a missing sample and fill the space in Arnold's collection, take a crack at another one. Click on a space and listen closely.
Set a what? Sediments are grains of sand that are made of other rocks or minerals. Sediments can get moved around by wind, rain, rivers, glaciers, and oceans. When the little grains of sand drop out of the wind, water, or ice, and are deposited on the ground, then that is called sedimentation. Those layers of sediment can get covered by other layers or strata, like the layers of a cake. The bottom layers of sediment can get scrunched down flat by the layers on top, and the weight from the strata on top eventually cements the tiny grains of sediment into solid rock. Rock factory. There are three kinds of sedimentary rock: clastic, organic, and chemical. Clastic rocks are formed from little pieces of broken rock. Sandstone is a clastic rock made of tightly packed sand grains. Organic rocks are made from plant or animal remains. Ocean plants and animals use calcite crystals to make their hard parts. When they die, the hard parts are left, and this makes the rock limestone. Chemical rocks are formed by chemical changes, such as evaporation. Rock salt is a chemical rock. It's what you'll find on the ground after a salty lake or sea dries up.
Welcome to the Fossil Puzzles. Let's get started. Click on the arrows to choose a puzzle piece, then drag the piece to where it belongs. Good luck! Wow, you're really good at this. Nice work. Way to figure out where that piece goes. This is what the floor of the ocean looked like 400 million years ago. Those fish are the oldest fish we know about. They had heavy armor made out of bony scales. I'm impressed. Way to go! These are some of the oldest plants and animals to live on land. They lived around swamps about 350 million years ago. Ready for your next puzzle? Wow, you're really good at this. This is a scene from the Jurassic period, which was about 150 million years ago. These dinosaurs are Apatosaurus and Stegosaurus. This bird resembles some of the earliest birds we know about.
It's a bat race.
It's Geode time. Click on a crystal to deposit water full of minerals into the hole. Then start the growing experiment. Welcome! Do you feel like helping Arnold find the missing samples from his rock and mineral collection? First, when you find a missing sample and fill the space in Arnold's collection, take a crack.
Did you know that it takes millions of years for sand to turn into sedimentary rock?
Layers of sedimentary rock are called strata.
I guess that means this canyon is a rock extravaganza.
Whoa, that gust of wind blew sand right into my eyes.
Did you know that it takes millions of years for sand to turn into sedimentary rock? If we looked closely at sedimentary rock, we could find fossils. Some fossils are made from the remains of plants and animals preserved in sand or mud. Gosh, this canyon is humongous. Why do they call this sandstone? I don't see much sand. Did you know that it takes millions of years for sand to turn into sedimentary rock?
Wahoo! Here we are at a favorite of mine, a mighty fine mountain. But there's more here than meets the eye.
Sometimes animals can tell when a volcano is about to erupt, and they scram.
Liz, don't worry. When it's time to go, we'll be safely on the bus.
Sometimes animals...
Hey, isn't that smoke coming from that mountain?
Good observation, Tim. But that's no mountain. It's a volcano.
Volcano? Smoke? Oh, I don't believe I ever thought this was going to be a quiet field trip. Couldn't we just learn about volcanoes back in the classroom?
Hey, this mountain's smoking. Some mountains are actually volcanoes, so maybe it will blow.
Wow, I can see the crystals in this rock because they're so big.
This is a seismograph. It records earthquakes, which can happen under a volcano.
Earthquakes? Volcanoes?
Yep. If an earthquake happens under a volcano, That means molten rock called magma is rising towards the surface. Then the volcano could erupt.
What's that machine?
It's a tilt meter. It measures bulges in the ground to see whether the melted rock underneath is rising to the surface.
Oh, so if the molten rock is rising, we might get to see the volcano erupt.
Eruption time! Back to the bus, class. 2 by 2, please. As you know, I love lava, and I love volcanoes.
And I just bet the lava loves her too.
I guess that when the lava solidifies, it'll make igneous rock.
Extrusive igneous rock, to be exact. That means it forms on the surface of the Earth. I don't get it. Why would anyone want to live near a volcano?
Well, one reason is that in places that have lots of rain, over time volcanic rock turns into really good soil for farming.
Wow, I can see the crystals in this rock because they're so big.
This lava's really cool.
Wanda, that lava is melted rock, so it's actually really hot.
Sometimes the lava from a volcano will cool so quickly that crystals can't form properly, and it makes volcanic blast.
Arnold, did you know that some eruptions spew out glowing lava, and others explode the lava into ash and chunks of rock called bombs?
Oh, I don't know what's worse, hot lava or chunks of rock flying through the air. I think I would have been just as happy watching this volcano on videotape.
Welcome to my chambers, class. The magma chamber, that is.
What's magma, Miss Frizzle?
It's melted rock under the Earth's surface. It pushes up to the surface through a volcano. And when it comes out, it's called lava.
When the lava erupts, it will cool rapidly to form extrusive igneous rock.
Then, as the layers of the igneous rock pile up, they make a volcanic mountain. Is it me? Or does the magma level seem to be rising?
This magma is definitely rising. What happens when it reaches the top, Miss Frizzle?
In due time, class. You'll find out in due time.
What happens to the magma that never makes it to the surface of the Earth? Does it still turn into rock?
Yup. The magma that cools very slowly inside the Earth forms intrusive igneous rocks, like granite.
As I always say, don't take geology for granted.
Whoa! The magma just rose.
Exactly how hot does magma get?
Hot enough to melt rock, and that's extremely hot.
Wow! The magma's getting awfully close to the surface.
Seatbelts, everyone! Here we go!
Whoa!
I knew I should have stayed stayed home from school today?
I can tell all my friends what the inside of a volcano looks like.
I don't get it. Why would anyone want to live near a volcano?
Welcome! This is a map of what the world looked like 250 million years ago. There was one big ocean, and all the continents were joined in one huge landmass called Pangaea. So, you want to play the Pangaea puzzle? Click on a puzzle piece and drag it onto the globe. Click again to paste it down. If you put it in the right place, it'll stick. If not, the piece goes back to its original spot. Great fit! You must be a puzzle expert. All right! That piece definitely goes there. Good move! Looks like that piece fits perfectly. I hope you can handle the next puzzle. We just zoomed ahead 150 million years after Pangaea. This is what the world looked like 135 million years ago.
you can see Africa and South America. Notice that Europe and North America are starting to split apart too. Great fit! You must be a puzzle expert. All right! Are you psyched for the next puzzle? And now we're...
Most caves form in areas where there's limestone rock and where there's a lot of rain. Here's why. The water sinks down through cracks in the limestone and collects in underground rivers. This water dissolves the cracks into wider cracks that get larger and larger over thousands of years. Eventually, whole areas collapse underground to form tunnels and caves. This is erosion on the inside of the Earth.
Welcome! This Earth kitchen is super cool. To be a
Some caves are home to thousands of bats. Cool. In Kentucky, there's a cave system with over 300 miles of connected passages and rooms. Caves can form inside glaciers when the ice melts, or even inside old lava tubes. Some salamanders that live in caves are very peculiar. When a salamander is born, it's dark gray and has simple eyes. But as it grows, the eyes disappear and its body turns white. In New Zealand caves, there are hundreds of glowworms. The walls of the cave are lit up by the blue-green light that the glowworms give off. The longest known stalactite is 195 feet long. It's in a cave called the Cueva de Nerja in Spain. There's a cave in Borneo with a room big enough to hold 16 football fields. Some caves are home to thousands of bats. Cool.
There's a lot to see, so look around.
I wish I could hang upside down like all these bats. I wonder if I'll run into any salamanders.
I may study this stalagmite. Then again, I stalagmite not. This cave is incredible.
It's pretty dark down here. I bet it's a great place to play hide and seek. The Earth is so cool. It made all those stalactites and stalagmites without any help from people. Erosion made this giant cave. Hey, I wonder if it could make me a giant hamburger.
I may study this stalagmite. Then again, I stalagmite not.
I wonder if any of Arnold's missing rocks are down here.
It's pretty dark down here. I bet it's a great place to play hide and seek.
What are those icicle-looking things hanging down from the ceiling? They're called stalactites. Stalactites hang tight to the ceiling. So, this huge cave was made by groundwater dissolving limestone?
I guess you could say the limestone caved in.
Stalactites form when water that contains dissolved calcite slowly drips down from the roof of a cave. The water evaporates and leaves the calcite behind. What are those icicle-looking things hanging down from the ceiling? They're called stalactites. Stalactites hang tight to the ceiling.
Wow! What are those bats doing here?
Animals like bats like to hang out in caves because the caves are nice and dark.
Well, they're driving me batty. This cave is awesome. Look around.
It's a...
Wow! What are those bats doing here?
Animals like bats like to hang out in caves because the caves are nice and dark.
Well, they're driving me batty. This cave is awesome. Look around.
It's amazing what a lot of erosion can do. That's a pretty cool-looking column. I wonder how it got there.
It got made when a stalactite grew down from the ceiling and joined the stalagmite growing up from the ground below it.
I don't dig caves. Water does that. But they're my faves. As I always say, there's nothing like Cavern some fun.
Do you want to try your hand at cave painting? Just pick a thumb size, dip it into pigment, and start drawing on the wall.
Rock. All rocks are made of minerals. If you look at a chunk of granite, you'll see that it's made out of different colored pieces. These pieces are the rock's minerals. Although some rocks are made out of only one mineral, most are made of more than one kind. In fact, rocks get their names by what minerals are in them.
There are probably a lot of crystals in your home. Check your sugar bowl or the salt shaker. Rubies and sapphires are not different minerals. They're colored varieties of rare, perfect crystals of corundum. Teeth are mostly made from a mineral called apatite. Most precious gems are actually colorless. Their color comes from impurities in the stone. Diamonds are the hardest natural substance on Earth. They're formed more than 90 miles below the Earth's surface. The shells of sea animals, like coral and clams, are made of the mineral calcite. The softest mineral is talc. It's so soft that we grind it up to make talcum powder for baby's soft skin. Some minerals, like fluorite, glow in the dark if you put them under ultraviolet light. There are probably a lot of crystals in your home. Check your sugar bowl or the salt shaker.
Rocks are really radical. There's a lot to see, so look around.
most beautiful crystals grow inside of geodes.
Sure, I said I love geodes, but I don't remember saying I wanted to go inside one.
Now that we're actually inside of a geode, everything's become crystal clear.
These crystals all look like they're different. There must be a million different crystal shapes.
Actually, Ralphie, there are only 6 basic crystal shapes, but they come in many, many different sizes. Ralphie, did you know that pencil lead is not really lead at all? It's a soft mineral called graphite, and graphite is made of the same ingredients as diamonds. Now I know minerals from the inside out.
I don't think I've ever been in a geode before.
This geode is pure genius. This crystal looks glassy. Geodes are gem-packed with crystals.
Sure, I said I love geodes, but I don't remember saying I wanted to go inside one.
If a crystal has a lot of time to develop and room to grow, it will get very big. According to my research, diamonds are a girl's best friend. But I don't know. My best friend is my book bag.
I can see it now. My award-winning movie, Journey into the Geode.
Isn't it lunchtime yet? These crystals all look like they're different. There must be a million different crystal shapes.
I wonder if any of these crystals could be one of Arnold's missing minerals. Now that we're actually inside of a geode, everything's become crystal clear.
Some rocks and minerals, like geodes, are a lot more colorful once you get to know them. Sure,
I wonder how many crystals are inside this geode. Maybe I should start an investigation.
What's a gemstone?
Gemstones, like rubies, diamonds, and sapphires, are extremely hard crystals. Hey, DA, did you know that geodes form in holes in cooling lava?
I sure did. Water full of minerals gets stuck in the holes. Over a long, long time, these minerals grow into crystals.
Did you know that calcite is a mineral that always grows into a crystal shape, but gold is a mineral that never grows into a crystal shape?
I wish I knew as much as the frizz. Wow! I've never seen such beautiful rocks before.
These are...
As I always say, I love a nice crystal or my name isn't Frizzle.
You just never know what the frizz is going to say next.
Hey, DA, did you know that geodes form in holes in cooling lava?
I sure did. Water full of minerals gets stuck in the holes. Over a long, long time, these minerals grow into crystals.
Wahoo! Here we are at a favorite of mine, a mighty fine mountain. But there's more here than meets the eye. kind of volcanic eruption can you create? Select your variables, low, medium, or high heat, and gas or no gas. Then click on the button to start erupting. Just made a shield volcano by mixing high heat without gas. Shield volcanoes have runny lava that flows out across a wide area instead of making a cone. The chances of a volcano forming are pretty slim if you use high heat and gas. Try another combination. You just combined medium heat with gas and made a composite volcano. Many composite volcanoes are tall and have alternating layers of lava and ash. Since the lava is sticky, it can't flow very far before it becomes solid. This volcano has ash layers made of andesite. The combination of low heat and gas can make a cinder cone volcano. Cinder volcanoes are often steep and cone-shaped, but they're made mostly of volcanic ash, not solidified lava. Just made this cool composite volcano with low heat and no gas. The lava is sticky and will turn into obsidian. It could also plug up the volcano. Welcome! When you find a missing sample and fill the space in Arnold's collection, take a crack at another one.
There are probably a lot of crystals in your home. Check your sugar bowl or the salt shaker.
At the core, the Earth is a sphere made of 3 made layers. The inside layer, deep in the center of the Earth, is called the core. If the Earth were the same size as a peach, the core would be about the size of the peach pit. There are 2 parts to the core. The inner core is made of solid metal, but it's the hottest part of the Earth, and the outer core is made of molten metal.
Geology is the logical choice for learning great things.
The mid-ocean ridge is home to a very different group of animals that can only live in the deep, dark ocean near the hot water vents. The deepest parts of the ocean floor are the subduction zones, like the Marianas Trench off the Philippines. This trench is more than 6.5 miles below the surface of the ocean. The mid-ocean ridge is home to a very different group of animals that can only live in the deep, dark ocean near the hot water vents. The deepest parts of the ocean floor are the subduction zone.
These plates are moving, then how come we can't see them move?
Because the plates of the Earth move very slowly, only about an inch a year. Sometimes the plates move apart, and sometimes they move toward each other.
When plates move towards each other, what happens when they meet?
Oceanic rock is heavier than continental rock, so it sinks below. This sinking is called subduction.
Seatbelts, everyone! It's subduction time!
At my old school, we never got subducted.
Now what?
The oceanic plate is getting shoved so far down that it's entering the part of the Earth called the mantle.
When this happens, the edge of the plate changes and becomes part of the mantle.
But how do we get out of here?
Well, we won't just go with the flow. That would take us millions of years to get out of here. So, come on, bus, do your stuff. First things first, class. Who can tell us about plate tectonics?
According to my research, the surface of the Earth is made up of round, flat pieces called plates. These plates fit together like the pieces of a giant jigsaw puzzle.
Bodacious! And plate tectonics explains how plates are made and destroyed.
What do plate tectonics have to do with where we are now?
Everything! We're at a mid-ocean ridge.
Oh, I know what that is. A mid-ocean ridge is where two plates are moving apart.
Correctamundo! Now, what happens when the plates move apart?
The food falls off of them?
Oh, Carlos, what a sense of humor! Where the plates move apart, melted rock called magma pushes its way up through faults in the ocean floor.
As magma cools, it adds new igneous rock to the edge of the plate.
And it forms new land like this mid-ocean ridge.
I think this mid-ocean ridge is outrageous.
First things first, class.
What do plate tectonics have to do with where we are now?
Now, what happens when the plates move apart?
The food falls off of them? Oh. As magma cools, it adds new igneous rock to the edge of the plate.
And it forms new land like this mid-ocean ridge.
I think this mid-ocean ridge is outrageous.
my research, the Earth is like this peach. The crust which we stand on is like the skin of the peach. The Earth's mantle is like the fruity part. And the hot core is like the peach pit.
Hey, when you're done with that, can I have it? I'm kinda hungry. Hey, what's all this talk about plates? Is it time to eat?
No, Ralphie. The surface of the Earth is made up of round, flat pieces called plates. These plates are like the pieces of a giant jigsaw puzzle.
Some mountains form when layers of rocks are pushed together so hard that they fold or crumple.
It's like when you push your blankets to the foot of the bed. All those wrinkles and folds in your blankets are like the peaks and valleys of folded mountains. Underneath mountains, there's a lot of heat and pressure. So the rocks down there get cooked and change into other kinds of rocks.
Yeah, these are called metamorphic rocks. I guess the rocks just can't take the heat. Let's hurry and find Arnold's missing rocks so we can get out of here. I think we should get some rock candy for our geology field trip.
When the Earth splits apart, that crack is called a fault.
Wait a minute. The Earth may be cracked, but it's not my fault.
I'll see you soon, after this ride in my hot air balloon.
The Frizz is definitely the most interesting teacher I've ever had.
Some mountains are made when layers of rock are pushed together and the layers fold or crumble.
Metamorphism can turn shale into slate or limestone into marble. That is so hot, it's cool.
I feel the earth move under my feet.
Earthquakes are caused when moving pieces of the Earth's crust get stuck. When they break free, a lot of pent-up energy is released. That makes earthquakes. I wonder what Dorothy Ann and Ralphie are doing.
This rift valley is so cool. There are so many layers to examine in the fault walls. The energy released in an earthquake causes waves to travel through rocks. They're called seismic waves.
And we can measure the waves with my seismograph.
Oh, I get it. A seismograph measures the size of quakes.
Gosh, faults make me realize just how powerful the Earth really is.
We have to help Arnold find his missing rocks and minerals. I guess if the Earth's plates didn't bump into each other, we wouldn't have so many great mountains and valleys.
Oh, look! A metamorphic rock. Morph means to change. Right! All the metamorphic rocks were once a different kind of rock. Then, they were changed by heat and pressure deep down under the Earth.
This rift valley is so cool. There are so many layers to examine in the fault walls.
I think the Rift Valley is pretty nifty. In my opinion, faults are everything they're cracked up to be.
Faults are fantastic.
Do the Rift Valley shake. Cha-cha-cha.
faults. Faults are cracks in the rocks on the surface of the Earth. When the rocks move on either side of the crack, that makes an earthquake. There are different kinds of faults. One kind is where rocks are shoved away in an up-down movement. This is called a normal fault. A reverse fault has the same up-down movement as a normal fault, but one side is being pushed on top of the other side. The third fault type has a side-by-side movement, where the rocks slip past each other. This is called a strike-slip fault. The San Andreas Fault in California is a famous strike-slip fault. What makes quakes? The rocks on both sides of a fault are always under pressure. They're always pushing. They want to keep moving past each other. But sometimes they get stuck, and all that pressure has nowhere to go. And so the pressure builds up until there's way too much of it. Then, when the two sides finally do break free, all that pent-up pressure is released in a violent rush. The rocks move past each other very quickly, and that quick release of pressure is what causes an earthquake. Shake, rattle, and roll.
Earthquakes start way down at a spot inside the crust called the focus, which is where rocks release their pent-up pressure along a fault line. During an earthquake, shock waves start at the focus and move outward in all directions.
Hey, what's all this talk about plates? Is it time to eat?
No, Ralphie. The surface of the Earth is made up of round, flat pieces called plates. These plates are like the pieces of a giant jigsaw puzzle. According to my research, the Earth is like this peach. The crust which we stand on is like the skin of the peach. The Earth's mantle is like the fruity part, and the hot core is like the peach pit.
Hey, when you're done with that, can I have it? I'm kinda hungry. Welcome!
Buildings are being built to survive even very big earthquakes. Each year, there are 4 times as many earthquakes in Japan as in California. Did you know that the Himalaya mountains are still growing? The temperature inside the Earth increases by 1 degree every 60 feet down. According to my research, earthquakes happen every day somewhere in the world, but only a few of them are strong enough to be felt. You know how faults have footwalls and hanging walls? They were named long ago by gold and silver miners, who walked on the footwall block and hung their lanterns on the hanging wall block. All earthquakes occur on faults, but we can't always see the fault on the surface of the ground. Buildings are being built to survive even very big earthquakes.
Set a what? Sediments are grains of sand that are made of other rocks or minerals. Sediments can get moved around by wind, rain, rivers, glaciers, and oceans. When the little grains of sand drop out of the wind, water, or ice, and are deposited on the ground, then that is called sedimentation. Those layers of sediment can get covered by other layers or strata, like the layers of a cake. The bottom layers of sediment can get scrunched down flat by the layers on top, and the weight from the strata on top eventually cements the tiny grains of sediment into solid rock.
Each year, the United States loses 3.5 billion tons of soil through erosion. This amount of soil would fill a freight train 474,000 miles long. That's long enough to circle the planet 19 times at the equator. In the last 5 million years, the Colorado River cut almost 6,000 feet through the rocks of the Grand Canyon. Even Mars has canyons cutting into its surface. This probably means there were once rivers on Mars, even though there is no water there now. The oldest rocks in the Grand Canyon are at the very bottom, and they are 1.5 billion years old. Glaciers and ice sheets now occupy 10% of the Earth's surface. That's an area as large as South America. Each year, the United States loses 3.5 billion tons of soil through erosion.
The mid-ocean ridge is home to a very different group of animals that can only live in the deep, dark ocean near the hot water vents. This Earth kitchen is super cool.
Good news! Measuring the earthquakes from a volcano can tell us when it is likely to erupt. This can save lives by warning people to move away. In 1963, a new island volcano grew near Iceland. People watched as clouds of steam and red-hot cinders were shot out of the sea. In 1883, a volcano on Krakatoa in the Indian Ocean had 4 massive explosions. The explosions destroyed the island and could be heard 3,000 miles away. Did you know that some rocks like pumice can float on water? Tsunamis are gigantic waves that sometimes happen as a result of earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. The wave can travel a speed of up to 500 miles per hour. When Mount St. Helens exploded in 1980, it released as much energy as 500 atomic bombs. Check it out! Indonesia and the Philippines have more active volcanoes than any other country. Hey! Did you know that those dark patches you can see on the moon are actually huge lava flows?